is Dr. Demi.
Hey, I'm Chris.
How are you today, Chris?
I'm great.
Good. I'm going to be assessing your spine today from about the back of your neck to your belt line. If I have to expose the skin in that area, is that okay?
Yes, it is.
Great. Can you take your shirt off for me?
Sure.
Can you have a seat facing the blinds? I felt a lack of resiliency around L2, so I'm going to further evaluate the segment. Chris, can you go ahead and fold your arms across your chest? I'm first going to assess flexion and extension. When I bend the patient forward, my segmental contact is the interspinous space, and I'm feeling to see if that space opens up. As I extend the patient back, I'm feeling to see if it closes down. Next, I will assess rotation. My contact point will be the lateral aspect of the spinous processes. I'm going to rotate the patient. As I bring the joint to pretension, I'm going to press lateral to medial to assess end play. Feel a lack of resiliency, but I'm going to check the other side to compare. Again, lateral aspect of the spinous. Rotate the patient, bring the joint to pretension, and press lateral to medial. I feel good resiliency on the right side, so I feel safe to say that there's a left rotation restriction. Next, I will assess lateral flexion. My segmental contact is the same, the lateral aspect of the spinous. So I laterally flex the patient. To assess end feel, I'm going to spring lateral to medial. Same on the left side, lateral aspect of the spinous process. Bring them into flexion. With the joint in pretension, I'm going to spring lateral to medial. I feel good resiliency on both sides. Okay, Chris, can you cross your arms over your chest? Okay, and I'm going to have you bend forward, and back, forward, and back. Okay. Okay, Chris, can you take a deep breath in? And exhale. Okay, take a deep breath in. And exhale. Internal scan in the thoracic region, felt a lack of resiliency at T11, so I decided to further evaluate. When assessing extension and flexion, my contact point was the inner spinous space. When I brought the patient into flexion, I felt the joint space open up. But when I brought the patient into extension, I did not feel the joint space close down, thus an extension restriction. I then wanted to assess rotation. My contact point was the lateral aspect of the spinous processes. As I rotated the patient and brought the joint into pretension to further evaluate joint plane and feel, I pressed lateral to medial. I found good resiliency on both the left and right sides in rotation. So then I went on to assess lateral flexion. Again, my contact point was the lateral aspect of the spinous processes. When I laterally bent the patient to the right, I brought the joint into pretension by pressing lateral to medial. I felt good resiliency. But on the left side in lateral flexion, when I tested joint plane and feel by pressing lateral to medial while the joint was in pretension, I did not feel good resiliency, thus a left lateral flexion restriction. To assess the corresponding rib pair of T11, I went up 1 inner spinous space and out 2 inches laterally. I wanted to assess elevation. In doing so, I had the patient take a deep breath in, tested him in flexion and contralateral rotation and lateral bending. During all of these, I felt the intercostal space open up. To further assess joint play and end play, I sprang I to S on the inferior aspect of the rib and felt good resiliency. Okay, Chris, your exam's in. Go ahead and put your shirt back on. Thank you. During my general scan of the cervical region, I felt a lack of resiliency at C4, so I decided to further evaluate. I first assessed flexion and extension by contacting the inner spinous space. As I brought the head into flexion, I wanted to be mindful of the ligamentum nuchae, so adjusted so slightly. I did feel the inner spinous space close down, and then when I brought the head into extension, I felt the space open up, noting good joint play. I then went on to assess rotation. By doing so, I contacted the articular pillars. And as I rotated the head, I brought the joint into pretension to assess joint plane and feel by pressing P to A. When I did so, I noticed more resiliency on the left side as compared to the right, noting a right rotation restriction.